How do you do, buckaroos? How the heck are you? So all of a sudden I got everything ready. I started having some issues. But anyways, we're going now. I'm a couple minutes late, but better late than never, huh? So how the heck are you? So I'm having an old tankard. I actually bought a 4-pack a few weeks ago. I went through the entire 4-pack. Really enjoyed the heck out of the beer. Brewed by Pabst. Certainly the best thing that I've tasted from them. Although the Ballantine IPA was fantastic, and I hadn't had the Burt now, but I am loving that they're reviving these old styles. It doesn't say on the can what it's meant to be, but it really feels like an ESB to me. And I'm also enjoying it with some Irish whiskey. So Lord Lieutenant Kinahan's 10-year-old single malt. I love this whiskey. Some may get offended, though, that I'm drinking it on the rocks, but I was in the mood for some rocks, so sue me. Using my reward yourself glass, I got a very generous, about a 2-ounce pour there over that great big ice cube, you see. Mm. This whiskey is beyond gorgeous. I got to tell you, it's amazing. And I have a new glass. Well, it's not new, but it's new to me. My wife picked this up at a DAV today. The main reason, I picked up the old tankard, another 4-pack of the old tankard. Got some buddies. We were talking about doing a video, kind of a live video, a couple, three of us, but we're having troubles getting everybody together to do that. So, but anyway, she found this glass for me. And it's got a couple. One being a tankard, that'd be perfect to have an old tankard in. But pheasants, and my mom and dad collected pheasants. My dad passed away at 98, just shortly before our son was born. But my mom still has a lot of pheasant stuff, so it's kind of, I guess that's probably why my wife picked it up for me, having that pheasant on it. But that's a very nice glass. Take a look at that. That's a great tankard. So, being a tankard, I thought it would be perfect to have the old tankard in. I had a nice head on there. I'm gonna pour some more beer in there. Haven't taken a drink out of it yet. Ooh, don't go over on me, man. There we go. Gosh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Kind of a beautiful kind of amber, maybe a slightly ruby hue to it. A nice, a very nice creamy tan head going on there. Oh yeah, it's a very enjoyable beer. I guess if I had any issues, I don't have any issues really with it. The thing of it is that I think they're trying. I don't know if they're trying to appeal to younger craft beer drinkers. It seems to me that they're trying to appeal more to older guys like myself, or even older than I. On the nostalgia factor. I think that due to the style, this beer is going to appeal to older folks like myself more so than it is going to appeal to younger, trendy craft beer drinkers. And truth is, if they'd have come out with that Ballantine IPA or this beer, 10 years ago, I think they really would have tapped into the craft beer market. But they're about 10 years late, in my opinion, because that's how craft beer has moved. Mm. Oh, this whiskey has a lot of dimension. So very nice. I believe it's 92 proof, if I remember correctly. My eyes aren't focusing on here. Let's see where it says on here somewhere. I didn't turn my light on there. I don't have enough light to see, and I can't see. Alcohol 46%. Yeah, it's 92 proof. So there you go. It's 10-year. Whereas as many are just clocking in at 80 proof. This is a big whiskey. A lot of oak going on. You really feel that those bourbon barrel highlights in it. It's incredibly smooth though. It's just gorgeous. So I'm gonna have to take a drink of this beer now. I've let it sit for you. Now that I've talked for almost 10 minutes. Oh. It is very enjoyable. The thing of it is though that the style, whatever you'd want to call it, it's not what folks are looking for these days as a whole. But I mean, it's a brilliantly put together beer. I don't know how anybody can say it's not good. I mean, it's not flawed in any way. If it doesn't fit for your taste buds, well, that's fine. But I mean, it's certainly not. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. Put together well, it's crafted well. It's a great beer. Now, I guess I mean that's just it though. Does it work for you or not? but there's certainly nothing wrong with it. I mean, you certainly feel some toasted malt. There's some nutty. I'm getting some nutty, almost hazelnut like notes in it. Just put together well. I just like it, man. I just like it. Is that okay with you? Anyways, I digress. Yeah, and I'm pairing it with some whiskey. I've got an English style beer with an Irish whiskey, kind of in the spirit of can't we all just get along? So growing up, my dad drank Jim Beam. He drank Jack Daniels. He drank Wild Turkey. That was pretty much the extent of it. I didn't even know other alcohols existed till I was much older. So my first foray into whiskeys was, well, you guessed it, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, and Wild Turkey. And my dad always just, Jim Beam was kind of the, have around whiskey. Jack Daniels, was more special occasion, and Wild Turkey was even for a more special occasion. As I've gotten older and now that I've tried all these whiskeys, I see things a little bit differently than he did, but the options were a little thinner back in his time than they are right now. I mean, the choices we have for bourbons, for Irish whiskey, for Scotch, I mean, for everything. Even I mean, there are so many just American whiskeys out there. It's just mind-boggling. My dad probably wouldn't even know what to do standing and looking at the whiskey aisle. It's just amazing. I think for the price point, the regular Jim Beam, the 4-year-old Jim Beam, is a fine whiskey. Again, especially for the price. Uh, It may not be the smoothest, neat whiskey, but I can certainly drink it neat. I think it works fine on the rocks. But it is a whiskey that lends itself well to highballs and cocktails if you're into such things. Traditionally, I mean, a Manhattan is done with rye, but I personally like to make Manhattans with bourbon as well, especially a bourbon like Jim Beam that doesn't cost that much. And two, uses rye as a secondary grain. I think that whiskey works fine in a Manhattan. The biggest issue with Jack Daniels is not that I think it's a terrible whiskey. It's just that over the years it's changed. It's diluted itself. I mean, I remember as a kid, it was a 90 proof whiskey. Then at some point it became an 86 proof whiskey, and now it's just an 80 proof, just like the Jim Beam. Now, one thing you have to admit about Jack Daniels, whether you like it or not, is that it's a very distinctive. It has a very distinctive flavor. So if you're buying it for the flavor, that's fine, but it costs a lot more than Jim Beam. It's about $10 more per bottle in my neck of the woods, and they're both 80 proof whiskey. So I got to tell you, for my money, I prefer to buy the Jim Beam. But I mean, again, it's a matter of taste, right? I mean, Jack Daniels has a very distinctive flavor. So if you want that taste, pay the extra $10. Here's my issue, though, is so many folks, it's just been ingrained in them that Jack Daniels is this incredible whiskey, and it's not the whiskey it once was, in my opinion. Uh, and you're paying $10 more per bottle than, say, Jim Beam. So if you're going to mix it in soda pop anyway, I mean, if you're going to take 2 ounces and drown it in Coke, I mean, it just seems ridiculous to me that you're paying $10 more per bottle, because, quite frankly, I don't think you can tell the damn difference, in my opinion. I mean, if you're going to mix something in Coke, I mean, don't buy a super expensive whiskey. Of course, I mean, okay, that's probably not a super expensive whiskey, but I guess my point being, you can buy whiskeys of an equal quality for less money, is the point I was trying to make there. Wild Turkey in my market, even the Wild Turkey 101 now costs less than Jim Beam does. So again, for my money, I'm not Jim Beam, Jack Daniels. So there, hold on. Wild Turkey costs less than Jack Daniels, not than Jim Beam. So I mean, if I'm going to spend more money, I'd rather have the 101. And I think Wild Turkey is an underrated whiskey. I think it's every bit as quality as Jim Beam or Jack Daniels. If you want a bigger proof, I mean, again, it's a little harsher neat, but I've certainly drank it neat. It certainly lends itself well for the rocks because you've got that extra proof. You can let it melt, get a little bit of water in there, that becomes a very drinkable whiskey. If you want to drown it in Coca-Cola, well, there you go. You still didn't spend as much as you did on the Jack Daniels. But again, for me, if I'm gonna, I mean, I don't typically do that, but I would spend. Again, I would buy the least expensive whiskey if I'm gonna ruin my whiskey with Coke. I started making a point when I started this conversation that being I was trying to explain how I eventually got to drinking Irish whiskey, but I kind of get lost on the whole price point thing. My point was I was well into my 20s before I'd even tried Irish whiskey. In fact, I was probably real close to 30, if not 30, to be honest with you. I'm trying to remember exactly when I had it. But the first one I had was Bushmills, and I really enjoyed it, the regular Bushmills. And I had the regular Jameson. I was 32. Yeah, I was 32, definitely 32. I kind of went Rain Man on you there for a second. I was 32 using my left-handed mug here. That's a right-handed mug. It's a right-handed mug. How about that? My wife found a right-handed mug. See, I always say I've got a left-handed mug because typically I have to hold it with my left hand to see the logo. But on this one you actually see the logo of my right hand. This is my first right-handed mug. She found me a right-handed mug. Thank you, dear. Anyway. See how I get sidetracked sometimes? She found me a right-handed mug. No, I was 32 the first time that I had the 10-year-old single malt, and I just freaking fell in love with it. It was actually the first single malt whiskey that I'd ever had. The Bushmills 10-year-old Irish single malts, and then not long after that, I tried the 16, which I thought was gorgeous. Since then, shortly thereafter, and then throughout the rest of the years, I've had some Scotch whiskeys, single malts and blends. Some I enjoyed, but I just for my taste buds, I think I really prefer the Irish whiskeys. I love the smoothness of the Irish whiskey. I love the texture. For me, it just works better. However, I will say probably over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years or so, as we've started to see more craft distilleries or boutique distilleries starting to pop up, that I've actually kind of gravitated back towards bourbon and American whiskeys because I really enjoy what they're doing with the whiskeys. I've got Missouri Spirits House here in town that does a nice young bourbon. Copper Run's doing some fine whiskeys. Not exactly my neck of the woods, but about 4 hours from here is Rocktown and Little Rock. That's just. I mean, in my opinion, they're knocking it out of the park. They're just doing some great stuff. So I've kind of gravitated more towards American whiskeys again, whether they be bourbon, rye, or various styles of American whiskey. Rocktown does this one whiskey that I just love. It's called an Arkansas Hickory Smoked Whiskey, and that thing is just beyond gorgeous in my opinion. It only runs about $35 a bottle. For that price, it's an absolute steal. That's kind of my evolution, how it's gone for me on the whiskey front, folks. I think it's kind of natural, though. I think at some point most of us end up going full circle. I kind of went back. I learned here. I kind of went tried different stuff. And I've kind of gone back to bourbons. I really appreciate bourbons. I really enjoy bourbons. But I'm glad I'm glad we are where we are. That and not geographically, but I mean that there are so many craft distilleries popping up. So many craft breweries that beer has become something different than it was 30 years ago, and so has whiskey. So we've kind of rediscovered our roots, as it were. We're starting to have whiskeys how they were, before Prohibition, and I'm really thankful for that because there's some great whiskeys out there. Oh, that is a nice glass, isn't it? Check that out. I mean, it's a great artwork on that. I have some other stuff that would kind of match. Almost looks like I went with it. But that's just a great tankard. And I was actually going to have an IPA. I had a Mother's Little Helper. I got one left. I was going to pop the IPA. Then I remembered I put this in the dishwasher today. Just got it nice and good and clean, and it just came out right about the time. So I'm gonna use my tankard, man. I had a Rams tankard that I hadn't been using before, but now I have my pheasant tankard. So I mean, that's just a great glass, isn't it? course, I mean, I could have put an IPA in here, would have been fine. But since it says Old Tankard, are you following me? So I'm using a tankard for my Old Tankard. Hang on, I got to burp. Oh, excuse me. Oh, chug a boom. That is good, man. It sat for a little bit. Of course, I've been talking. I poured it in here, I don't know, just a few minutes before I started. Now I've been on for just shy of 15 minutes. So it's probably been in the glass about 20. So, I mean, it certainly had a little bit of melt off in there. Not a lot. There's still a nice chunk of ice cube yet, but at 92 proof, this whiskey can take a little bit of water and not be watered down. That little bit of chill really brings those sugars to the surface. It's the first thing you notice. It's almost a honey-like sweetness. It just has that real, kind of velvety honey feel to it. Then you feel some of that oak going on as well. I'm certainly getting some vanilla notes, but again, it just has that very smooth Irish whiskey feel to it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And back to the beer. Actually, like I said, this is probably close to an ESB, if not technically an ESB. I don't know. Feels like an ESB to me. I'm going to call it one for the sake of this video. I don't know that it matters. It feels a little more flavorful than to call it a brown ale. So there seems to be a little bit more in the back end. Um, it's just a nice, enjoyable beer. It's very likable. Mm. The finish is very clean. It's just a good beer, and it only runs $6.79 a 4-pack. So I mean, what are you going to do, right? I mean, that's a bargain. Of course, it is brewed by Pabst, but I'm just saying, for $6.79, the last time I bought beer, even Budweiser and Coors Light was $6.88 a 6-pack. So I mean, yeah, okay, this is a 4-pack of 16 ounces, so technically it was 8 ounces less. But still, I mean, it's relatively the same amount of money for this as to buy Bud or Coors Light. I'm thinking, why in the hell would you ever buy that crap if you can get this at the same price? That's all I'm saying, man. At that time I bought. They had a Springfield Brewing Company their Walnut Street wheat and their Paul's Pale Ale for $6.97. So it was 9 cents more. So the same argument applies. Why would you buy that crapola if you have it? Now, if you're a crapola drinker, by all means, that's fine. But if you're a crap beer drinker too, why would you buy that shit to sit in your fridge when you could buy a craft beer for the same amount of money? Doesn't make sense to me, but some people just like to have crap laying around for some reason. I've got some friends that will say it's price. Well, it's end of the month. I'm just saying, if you pay attention, you can buy decent beer for about the same as your crapola. You just have to be looking. Because I can always find something. I can't imagine why others can't as well. I just pay attention because I'm a tightwad. I am, man. I want to drink good beer, but I mean, I'm on a budget, so I can't, seek out huge stuff all the time and brag about standing in line for 4 hours like some folks do. but but I do find a way to drink good beer no matter what it is. Maybe it's not the trendy hip stuff that folks like to post on social media, but I'm drinking a quality beer all the time. And my point is, everybody can if they really wanted to. Those that tell you different just start telling you the truth. Ugh. Nice and malty. Again, I get some toasted malt. I am getting some nutty notes, like I said, kind of almost like hazelnut notes. It's very clean and earthy in the finish. So there you go. I guess I've ran this about as long as I intended to start with. I was going to try to finish the beer though, and we're having the beer and a whiskey. Kind of I talked a lot, kind of slowed me down a little bit. So there you go. I did finish the beer. How do you do, buckaroos? Hold on, now I got a burp stuck right there. Anyways, hey, I'm Tom the Beer Whisperer. I want to thank everybody that sticks with me. And for those of you that don't, I don't have any ill will towards you. I don't hold a grudge, man. This time, Beer Whisperer will talk to you later.